Senator Tom Harkin blocks a presidential health care nominee. We'll talk about that today. We'll talk about the first NBA player to come out as an openly gay man. That's been pretty much non-news. Kind of cool. We're also going to talk about a continued battle over Senator Sorensen's emails as during his time on the Bachmann campaign. We're also going to talk about GMOs in the classroom and the garment fire, more corporate stuff going on. But first, we're going to look at the frac sand mining issue up in Northeast Iowa. There's some breaking news on that, and we've got a couple guests with us on the phone today. We'll kick it off here in a few minutes on the Fallon Forum. Live. Ed Fallon here, folks. Gateway Market and Cafe is your locally owned source for specialty groceries. Enjoy chef-crafted, prepared foods, artisan baked goods, organic produce, specialty cheeses, and hand-selected wines and craft beer. Visit the lively cafe for breakfast, lunch, or dinner 7 days a week. Gateway Market is centrally located on the corner of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway and Woodland Ave. Stop by or visit www.gatewaymarket.com for more details. That's Gateway Market, folks. Good food, great community.
I'm a burrito.
I'm a fighting burrito, full of fresh ingredients prepared before your very eyes.
I don't have eyes.
I have over 28 options and 268 million combinations, including Rizo for vegetarians.
I can take my meat off and call myself vegetarian.
Put that back on. The Fighting Burrito is locally owned.
I'm owned by some big corporation somewhere. Say, you want to go on a date?
No thanks. I'm seeing a quesadilla.
The Fighting Burrito, online, fightingburrito.com. Join the fight.
This is Dr. Holding at the Story County Veterinary Clinic. For 15 years, we have been spaying and neutering feral cat groups at affordable prices. Wild cats destroy game birds and songbirds. A single female cat can produce over 4,000 kittens in 7 years. The shelters are full, so unwanted kittens will be put to sleep. Your cats will stay home and stay healthy. Call us for all your dog and cat needs at the Story County Veterinary Clinic between Ames and Nevada on Highway 30, 1 mile east of Interstate 35, 515-232-8766.
Local farms, global flavor. That's the secret to Hawk's growing popularity. The best meals begin with the best ingredients, and 90% of Hawk's ingredients come from local farms. In addition to seasonal fruits and vegetables, Hawk features grass-fed beef and lamb, and pasture-raised chicken and duck, all raised without hormones, steroids, or cages. The coffee is fair trade, locally roasted, and Hawk's House liquors come from right here in Iowa. Hawk's owners go the extra mile, composting organic waste and recycling. For more information or to make reservations, visit hawktable.com. That's HOQ table.com.
With warm weather finally here, it's time to think about upgrading the efficiency of your furnace and air conditioner. Leonard Tinker Heating and Cooling has provided honest, competent service for over 20 years. Whether it's your home or business, for repair work or to install a more energy-efficient furnace or air conditioner, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422. That's 263-0422. For honest, competent heating and cooling service, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422.
The 8th Annual Natural Living Expo is May 18th and 19th at the 4-H building at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. The Natural Living Expo is the place to learn about sustainable practices and healthy lifestyle choices. The expo offers classes and vendors where you'll learn about green building design, sustainable agriculture, urban farming, non-toxic cleaning products, massage, and more. There's no cost to attend, and what you'll come away with is priceless. For more information, visit www.naturallivingexpo.org. That's www.naturallivingexpo.org.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome to the Fallon Forum today, broadcasting from downtown Des Moines in the Skywalk, which is pretty much empty today. And why would anybody want to be in it today, really, folks? It is such a perfect day out there. I'm sure that folks are just strolling up and down the scenic streets of Des Moines. And we are, of course, broadcasting this show live here, but it is also available as a rebroadcast on Wednesday. KHOI in Ames, 89.1 KHOI in Ames broadcasts this show on at 4 o'clock. And up in Northeast Iowa, broadcasting out of Postville, KPVL rebroadcast the show on Wednesday at 7 p.m. So if you missed the show live, you can catch it there if you're in those parts of the state. And if you are listening live, you're welcome to call in and join the conversation at 244-0077 or toll-free 855-244-0077. Today, we are talking again about this frac sand mining issue. This is a huge issue, not just because natural gas is a problem. For those who think that, hey, if we can get beyond coal and oil and just use gas, everything's cool. It ain't, because the methane issue is something we've got to talk about, got to be aware of. Beyond that, the frac sand mining issue is a huge problem for folks who live up in Allamakee, Clayton, Decorah, Winnebago County, those areas, because of the incredible environmental impact this process has on that most scenic and most beautiful part of our state. And I'm delighted to have a couple folks joining us today, one from Winnebago County and a little bit later in this segment from Allamakee County. First, welcoming Lyle Audie on the phone. Hello, Lyle. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Ed. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, it has, too.
Yeah. So this is an issue that we've already seen some progress in Allamakee County toward putting the brakes on it. And you're not quite in the same position yet, though. They've got a moratorium in place there that's going to be in effect for 18 months altogether. What's the status in Winnebago County? Where are we at there?
Well, Winnebago got a later start because we only have a northeast corner of the county that has the exposed St. Peter sandstone layers. So right now we're in the process of getting ready for a May 14th public hearing on a 24-month moratorium on any conditional permits for industrial sand mining here in Winnebago County.
Okay, now, some of that language is stuff I didn't quite understand, and maybe others who are on the outside don't get it either. But you're saying that because of some elements of the topography, there has already been. I didn't quite follow you there. There's already been significant progress toward creating some of these mines.
Yeah, actually, we have two silica mines operating in Winnebago County right now.
Okay. And a silica mine is the same as a frac sand mine, correct?
Right.
Okay.
It's silica, and it's for large-scale industrial purpose that we're looking for the moratorium, not small-scale ag purposes.
Okay, so some of this stuff is used for local agricultural operations, correct?
Yeah, it's
okay.
Bedding for the cows to walk on.
Gotcha. Okay, but the bigger issue is the extraction of this product for natural gas exploration, for fracking of natural gas supplies.
Yeah, and the scale is the problem. Like a lot of other, agriculture and industrial issues, the size of the operation, the scale is the real problem. They send 100-car unit trains to North Dakota filled with sand from Wisconsin. And so hundreds of acres are just flattened to get the sand out over there. We don't want that here.
We hear about mountaintop removal in West Virginia, in the Appalachian Mountains, and a lot of us are concerned about that. And then we don't realize that the equivalent is happening right here in the heartland, in Wisconsin and now in Northeast Iowa.
Exactly. And across the border in Minnesota.
Minnesota as well.
We work closely with Fillmore and Houston counties, which are also under the gun, so to speak.
So you have a supervisor meeting coming up later next month.
Actually, we're working on the Planning and Zoning Commission first. That's the first step.
Okay, that's the county, the County Planning and Zoning Commission, and they will be asked to rule in favor of a 24-month moratorium on this larger scale frac sand mining, correct?
Exactly. That's exactly what we're doing. We have to be a little more careful in our approach here because we have two mines already in operation, small.
Right, and nobody seems to have trouble with those.
Not a great deal. They don't take out a great deal of sand, but we would like to make sure that the dust from that sand doesn't blow around and hurt people also.
Right. Okay.
But it doesn't have to be processed like frac sand does.
So for those two mines, a management issue might be something to be discussed. but it's the moratorium that would affect the larger operations. I got it.
Exactly. Yep. So
Right.
during that 24 months, then that would give us time to develop comprehensive plan language and zoning ordinance language that would put limits on the size, the hauling, the processing, those kinds of things.
Now, why not just go all out and say, hey, this activity is not going to be allowed in our county at all?
Because we live in a capitalist free enterprise system that you'll never be able to do that. That's private property.
Right, but if something is happening to that private property that negatively impacts my property next door or my property downstream or downwind, if I can't enjoy the fruits of my labor with the property I purchased, with the home I built, then isn't that an issue there as well?
Oh, it is. But my understanding is private property trumps all in our system. So all we can do is limit the processing of the sand after it's dug out.
Yeah. And again, my point there is whose private property trumps? I mean, is it the company that comes in and decides to remove the hilltop to extract that sand? Or is it the family farm, the Century Farm next door, who's been there a long time, who won't be able to continue in the same lifestyle if that happens? Whose property rights are we going to protect?
Yeah, well, that's why we're going. We think that we have a better legal suit to stand on with limiting the process rather than banning it.
And you have a three-member county board of supervisors, correct?
We have 5.
You have 5. Okay.
Yeah.
And are they wards or are they countywide?
Yeah. No, they're by district.
By district. Okay. Well, gosh, you're no different than Polk County in that respect. Although I hope you don't have as much cronyism up there as we do down here.
I'd say we probably don't.
Well, good. That would take some effort to get to that level.
We had 4 new people elected after the redistricting up here, so we've got 4 new members of the Board of Supervisors.
And how do they stand on this issue?
They're doing excellent work right now. 2 of them have been working as a committee, visiting sand mines in Minnesota and Wisconsin, talking with commissioners or supervisors, in Wisconsin and Minnesota. And they're really, looking into the issue before it gets here. So things are looking good here. Well,
Lyle, I really appreciate you taking the time to visit with us, and I wish you luck. I think you've got a nice level head about you. You're probably presenting a more middle of the road perspective than I would be willing to present. I mean, I just think it's just wrong. But maybe for that reason, you might be able to appeal to a broader audience too that would agree to something that again, addresses the problem with maybe minor concessions without allowing the whole thing to be sold downstream.
Yeah, that's our strategy right from the start. That we were shooting for something that would include a lot of people. We're doing a petition drive right now, and we're having almost 100% of the people we approach sign the petition asking for a moratorium.
Well, and I don't know whether it helps you to get that circulated statewide, but if it does, send it to me at fallonforum@gmail.com, and we'll do our part to get that out around the state.
Well, we've got a board on our Winnebago County Protectors, and we'll take that up and decide if we want to go outside the county or not.
Great. All right. Well, thanks so much, Lyle.
Thank you, Ed. Good to talk to you.
Likewise. Moving one county to the east, we're going to talk to Robert Naiman. Robert is with Alameda County Protectors, and you're one step ahead of your Winnebago County neighbors, apparently.
Yep, that is correct. Thank you for having me on this beautiful day. We achieved our moratorium, 18-month moratorium, on February 4th. After our group, the Alameda County Protectors, had a petition drive. We collected close to 800 signatures in a short period of time. And I produced a short video called Frack Sand Land, where I went up and interviewed people in these areas that were heavily impacted by this industry, and basically put this packet together and gave it to our Board of Supervisors, our planning and zoning, and basically we just wanted to get the message out as quick as possible to our elected officials.
Okay.
So we are one step ahead of Winnebago County.
All right, well, rub that in.
Yeah, well, we're working together on that.
That's good. Of course you are. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I understand there is already a frac sand mine operation in McGregor, just south of you in Clayton County, so I presume there might be some activity in that county as well.
Right, absolutely. Clayton has set up a group, and that sand company just to the south of us has been in operation for decades, producing silica but for paint, for glass, not on the scale that the fracking industry uses. So we're seeing huge increase for the fracking.
Right.
And
right. And again, what Lyle was saying in Winnebago County is a lot of that sand that's been mined for a long time at a very, small scale level has been used for bedding for cattle, and people don't seem to have as much of a problem with that. So.
No, you're talking about very few trucks. When the frac sand comes in, you're talking about hundreds of trucks a day.
Wow.
Per mine.
Well, again, I don't know. Now, you had a meeting. There was a meeting yesterday relevant to this as well. What was that about?
Public hearing. It was at our courthouse. Board of Supervisors public hearing on a proposed rezoning of a property just down the road from my house along the upper Iowa River, adjacent to Black Hawk Bluff, if people are familiar with this area in the trout streams.
Oh, it's a beautiful area.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that was for the rezoning of a property to allow for a rail spur to come in, and then it was brought to our attention that rail spur ultimately would be hauling frac sand.
Right.
And we received an environmental assessment worksheet out of Fillmore County, Minnesota, stating that 120 round trips a day, 120 trips going both ways, 240 trips were going to be brought into this rail spur. So we jumped on it, and our hearing was last night. We had an excellent response. I would say over 60 people showed up. Mm-hmm. And voiced their concerns, and there are a lot of them.
So was there a decision made on whether to allow the rezoning?
The Board of Supervisors now pushed it back over to the Planning and Zoning for reconsideration. So ultimately, it will be brought back before the Board of Supervisors again,
right.
And the bureaucratic process will take some time, so we don't expect it to be too quickly brought back to them.
Well, I think it's what you're doing is very important. I mean, it's certainly you're part of the state again. I've traveled all over Iowa. I've been up in Northeast Iowa many times, and it is no offense to the rest of our beautiful state, but it is the gem of Iowa. It is the most beautiful corner of our wonderful state. And
absolutely, it is, and that's the reason why a lot of us are here and moved here and plan to retire here. Per capita, Alameda County brings in more tourism dollars than any other county in Iowa. And I assume that Winnebago and Clayton counties are real close behind Alameda County with bringing in those tourism dollars.
And this certainly would hurt that industry. And so, it's not a question of, well, do we want the frac sand mining jobs? It's, do you want the frac sand mining jobs or the tourism jobs, the jobs involving trout fishing, camping, just getting away for a scenic weekend. It's not an issue of jobs, it's which jobs. And to me, it makes sense to try to stick with what you've got since it's working really well and you've got a level of beauty that you can't recapture if you allow those hills to be removed for sand.
Absolutely. These hills took hundreds of thousands of years to form. They're a key to our aquifer. You remove these hills, you remove the filtration system. Hundreds of thousands of Iowans depend on the Jordan Aquifer for fresh water. So it's up to us to protect this area and the rest of Iowans to help us protect this area. A lot of people travel up this way for the fall colors, the trout streams, the Effigy Mound National Park just south of where I live. There's so many things to save up here.
Now, the two other things I'd say, first of all, natural gas is not the great environmentally friendly boon that some are making it out to be. Sure, you don't see the smoke and the carbon emissions that you would with coal or oil, but natural gas is filled with methane, and methane is more of a problem for the atmosphere, for climate change than carbon even. And so I had a guest on my program last week, Dr. Anthony Ingrafia. He's at Cornell University. He's with a group called Physicians, Scientists, and Engineers for Healthy Energy. And he made a very strong case as to why natural gas should not be considered as an alternative to coal and oil. Where we really need to be moving instead is wind, solar, biodiesel, geothermal, conservation. In fact, he's traveled all over the country speaking about this frac sand mining issue, and he had not yet been to Northeast Iowa. So you might want to consider giving him a shout. He seems like quite a high quality resource in terms of his knowledge and his the way he very articulately expresses the issue.
Right, absolutely. I'm familiar with him.
You are good. Okay.
We up here really wanted to connect the frac sand mining with the fracking industry. Another member of our group, Jeff Abbas, we went down to Dallas, Texas last month, the beginning of March, to the Stop the Frack Attack Summit in Dallas. And we wanted to go down there and represent basically the anti-sand mining. And they were so... the fracking, the anti-frackers basically had no idea, a lot of them had no idea that this is equated to mountaintop removal,
right,
and had no idea what sand was coming.
Yeah.
So we really wanted to connect the points, and when you look at the entire circle of natural gas, it is not a cleaner fuel.
Right.
It's actually dirtier to extract than conventional oil.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that, because, again, some folks don't get that, including Jeb Bush, who is being touted as a possible 2016 presidential candidate and was referenced in an article in Politico last week as potentially the Republican who could lead the charge on climate change, and largely because of his commitment to the, quote, cleaner fuel natural gas. So Politico and a lot of even the alternative media don't get the fact that natural gas is not this clean, friendly, climate-friendly fuel.
Right, and that's what we really want to get across to our citizens here where the mining is happening. There's a lady, actually Jeff's wife, gave me a story here recently about they were planning on taking a trip to a national forest park, and they had to cancel it because the park contacted them and said that you can't come because of the fracking operations happening on and near our national parks.
Yeah.
And so it's not only is the sand mining creating havoc for the citizens, but people potentially using those parks as citizens taking vacations are being impacted.
Well, Robert, I really appreciate you taking the time to join us, and I wish you and the Alameda County Protectors luck in your struggle. You're doing great work, and you've been an inspiration to the folks in Winneshiek County and to us here in Central Iowa who appreciate all that you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to have us on, and please check out AlamakeCountyProtectors.com and our Facebook page, Alameda County Protectors, to stay updated because things are changing daily up here, and new information is coming in. And I really appreciate you having me on the show today.
Yeah, and feel free to send me any new details, and I'll share it with our audience across the state, okay?
Great. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Robert.
Yep, thanks.
Folks, we got more to talk about, I should say, in the second half of this program. Going to talk about the first gay member of a major league sports team coming out. We're going to talk about Senator Harkin taking on President Obama. We're going to talk a little bit about Kent Sorensen. We're going to talk about GMOs in the classroom. We're going to talk about the horrific garment fire in Bangladesh. All in one short segment. But first, we've got more to talk about because Adam Mason's in the studio with me. Adam Mason is with Iowa CCI, and he's been tracking closely an issue of very grave importance to us as well. This is the issue of open government, something that Terry Branstad has talked a lot about, something we haven't seen as much as what we would have hoped to see at the Board of Regents level. And now we have a series of public hearings trying to create a more transparent environment. And Adam and his organization have been working with that, and we're delighted to have him on the show today.
Thanks, Ed. Good to see you again.
Yeah, so these public hearings are coming up pretty soon.
That's right. Actually, the first public hearing was last week, and these are, it's called the Regents Transparency Task Force. Now, this is a task force that was actually created by the Board of Regents because they wanted to ensure transparency at the Regents institutions, the state universities, the community colleges, and the School for Blind across the state. Now, at CCI, we believe that good government definitely starts with the grassroots, but it needs to go all the way at the top. So one of the things that we've been doing at these task force hearings is making sure that transparency starts with the Board of Regents, something we've seen they have a problem with over the last year.
And what are some of the problems specifically?
Well, over the last year, we've seen one member of the Board of Regents try and use a state university for his own financial gain.
That would be Bruce Rastetter?
Correct, okay. Trying to push Iowa State into his land grab in Tanzania.
Yeah, and to Iowa State's credit, although it took some kicking and screaming. They eventually backed out of that arrangement.
That's correct. We saw the Regents turn around shortly after that scandal and hire Bruce Rastetter's PR spokesperson from his private business.
And that was done quietly without any public conversation?
Right.
Right.
The state universities are supposed to be equal opportunity employers. This job posting was not even put out there. They simply hired a former employee of Rastetter as the lobbyist for Iowa State at our state capitol.
Yeah.
Of course, an issue that all Iowans are familiar with by now. Regents president at the time, Craig Lang, and pro tem Bruce Rastetter kind of meddling with the Harkin Institute at Iowa State, and of course Senator Harkin having to pull his papers.
That's pretty significant when you're not forthcoming about your efforts to derail independent research by a U.S. senator who wants to donate his wealth of paperwork. I mean, gosh, how many years? I think Harkin has been in the Senate and the U.S. House for longer than you've been alive, Adam.
By maybe a year.
Well, to basically, ixnay that opportunity for one of our state universities. I mean, Harkin, to his credit, stuck to his guns and is going to, put that resource elsewhere where he can maintain intellectual and academic integrity and freedom.
Right.
But the fact that this happened, yeah.
It's a huge concern for all Iowans across the whole state. And then most recently, during this legislative session, a professor at the University of Iowa putting out a research paper several years ago that was critical of ethanol production in its current form. Just saying that until ethanol production becomes more efficient, we should hold off on developing it, in its current form. And of course, Regent Rastetter.
And that was in reference not just to corn-based ethanol, but to perennial grasses and whatnot as well?
Right.
Okay.
Definitely, that we need to continue exploring ethanol production so that we find the most efficient form of ethanol production out there. And that as a former CEO of Hawkeye Energy, a large ethanol company here in Iowa, Regent Rastetter had problems with that. And so weighing in, rather than going to, the president at the University of Iowa, went directly to the professor on behalf of ethanol lobbyists here in Iowa.
Okay.
So it's those kinds of scandals that we've seen time and again over the last year and a half. And so using this, again, Regents-initiated task force to really highlight some of these scandals and what we would propose to fix that.
And I want to get more detail on what specifically you hope will come out of these public hearings and what we might see as a potential fix to the issue of transparency. And the issue is greater than transparency. It's this sense of entitlement that comes with the position of regent, where you can, give jobs to, your cronies. You can expect special treatment from the university that you are charged with overseeing. And so I think there's probably a bigger agenda than just transparency. And I got to go to a short break, Adam, but I want to talk with you more about that when we come back.
Sounds good.
All right, folks, we'll be back in a few minutes. I want to thank the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club, also Iowa Physicians for Social Responsibility, and the Great March for Climate Action for sponsoring the Fallon Forum. And I want to thank Gateway Market and Cafe at 20th and Woodland for being one of our business supporters. They're not just a grocery store, folks. They're a fantastic cafe for breakfast, lunch, and supper as well. They also provide a catering service. So check them out, folks. That's Gateway Market and Cafe in the Sherman Hill neighborhood on the western edge of Des Moines. We'll be back in a minute.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
The dawn of a new era begins.
Well, good morning. This is the 7th of June in the Lord's year 2010, and this is day 1 of webcast1live.com. We will begin with Max World Live with my special guest, Tom Coates. In just a minute, there's Tom. Wait. Howdy. And we will be live for the very first time on Webcast One Live. Someday we're going to look back on this and say, gosh, remember that old day in history? Wonder where Walter Cronkite was. He must have been around hanging there too. But actually, it's the beginning of Webcast One Live. And thank you for listening. Thanks, Rob Spearman, and everybody who's put together this project together. And we're ready to go live now. So thanks for listening to MaxWorldLive.com.
I can't tell you that it's going real well from time to time, but it is going.
Community CPA is the 15th largest CPA firm in Iowa, providing audit, tax, and accounting services. Community CPA specializes in international tax treaty and double taxation avoidance among countries and states. 9 dedicated, experienced, hardworking staff are the company's foundation, and their compassion towards every client is the secret behind Community CPA's success. At Community CPA, you can expect quality service year-round. Call 288-3188. Community CPA, 3816 Ingersoll. Experience the difference.
Located in the heart of Beaverdale, Tally's offers speedy and affordable rooftop lunch, catering for events both large and small, innovative cuisine, as well as vegetarian and gluten-free menus. Come to Tally's for live music, dry-aged steaks, Sunday brunch, and all-you-can-eat ribs every Monday night. Tally's Restaurant, Bar, and Catering at 2712 Beaver Avenue. Call 279-2067. That's 279-2067.
Ludwig van Beethoven here. I used to be so tired all the time, not from composing and playing, but from moving my piano. But now I feel so much better. I call S&P Piano, and they will bring my piano anywhere. They also sell and rent pianos, used ones, new ones. You get the idea.
Call S&P Piano right away at 208-6453. That's 208-6453.
S&P Piano.
Nestled in the heart of downtown, Ritual Cafe is one of Des Moines' most unique places, offering a wide variety of coffee and tea. Ritual Cafe also serves the only all-vegetarian menu in town. And Ritual Cafe is a cultural hub for artists and musicians, with a performance stage hosting local, national, and international talent. Make Ritual Cafe a part of your daily ritual. On 13th Street between Locust and Grand in downtown Des Moines. And check out ritualcafe.com.
The 8th Annual Natural Living Expo is May 18th and 19th at the 4-H building at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. The Natural Living Expo is the place to learn about sustainable practices and healthy lifestyle choices. The expo offers classes and vendors where you'll learn about green building design, sustainable agriculture, urban farming, non-toxic cleaning products, massage, and more. There's no cost to attend, and what you'll come away with is priceless. For more information, visit www.naturallivingexpo.org. That's www.naturallivingexpo.org.
Wow, some wedding.
Yeah, I've never seen a bride in coveralls.
Right, and skipping down the aisle to accordion music.
Not to mention the reception. That wedding cake was a freaking fruit cake.
It's your wedding. Don't leave anything to chance. Diana's Wedding Cakes. Using only the finest, freshest ingredients with free on-time delivery and setup. Choose one of Diana's custom designs or create your own. Call Diana's Wedding Cakes, 641-275-9279. That's 641-275-9279.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back, folks. And Adam Mason, he tried to leave. Maddie tackled him, and we've still got him stuck in the corner here talking with us about the Board of Regents transparency hearings. Apparently, there's some of them are done. The ones in the central Iowa area were accomplished last week, and we have a few coming up this coming week in northeast Iowa.
That's right. So these hearings are really a chance for everyday folks to get out and let the regents hear their voice. We've been asking CCI members and other concerned Iowans to turn out to these hearings and deliver just a few key points. One being that regents should serve the public good, not their own interests. Seems simple enough.
And yeah, we've seen some of that happening.
Exactly. One of the other things that we want to see is that we're asking folks to identify these scandals and then ask the regents to develop a clear ethics policy and enforcement so that when there is a violation of these ethics rules that they have, that there's a way to actually enforce that on the book. So when these scandals happen, we can actually crack down on bad regents.
Okay. Well, and really a first action was taken by the Iowa Senate in rejecting the governor's appointment of Bob Kramer, a new nominee for the Board of Regents. And also the reappointment of Craig Lang. I mean, there were other reasons involved in their rejection, but the fact that happened, I think, sends a message that there's a broad concern, not just among nonprofit organizations like CCI, but among the general public and among the Democrats in the Iowa Senate about the functioning of the Board of Regents.
That's exactly right, Ed. There was actually also a bipartisan bill that passed the Senate that would have achieved some of these reforms that we think are needed. That passed 49-1 out of the state Senate. But
really? Even the Republicans supported it?
Yes, they did.
That was good.
But they did not pick this bill up in the House.
Curious, who was the one no vote?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember who that was.
We'll have to speculate on that.
I'll dig it up and get that to you to follow up.
All right.
A couple other key things the regents could do just to make themselves more transparent is to mandate public comment. Right now, the Board of Regents is one of very few public institutions that doesn't have a mandatory public comment at their public meetings.
Right.
So guaranteeing the public the right to speak, to address or petition the Board of Regents at their public meetings.
Now some are going to say that you'll have that problem you had up in Waterloo a while back where some folks just got up and just started shouting.
Right.
Or maybe are you suggesting that would be eliminated if folks had a chance to actually speak?
Exactly. I think that would have been eliminated if everyday folks had the right to talk to the regents. Right now, they've set up a system where they don't have to listen to the public.
Now, some people just want to go to a meeting and yell anyhow.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
But you're saying you think most people, if given the chance to speak, would prefer that over just disrupting the meeting?
I think so, yes.
Do you think, and is there movement afoot to allow that again? It is interesting to me that the Board of Regents is one of the few, maybe the only, did you say, that don't allow public comment.
Right. And, because it's a public meeting, it's a public institution, so the public should have the basic right to address the Board of Regents with their concerns.
Makes sense to me. And so we've got a few more of these hearings coming up.
Yes, we do. Next Tuesday, May 7th at 6 o'clock is when these hearings will kick off. The regents have been utilizing the Iowa Communications Network. So the hearing on May 7th at 6 p.m. will be originated out of Dubuque. But if you're in Decorah, Iowa, you can get on the ICN at the Decorah High School. If you're in Waukon, you can go to the Waukon High School. And if you're in Elkader, you can go to the Keystone AEA.
Keystone AEA.
That's
no
correct.
Connection to Keystone Pipeline?
No connection to Keystone Pipeline.
Just checking.
But be there on May 7th at 6 o'clock. If you need more details on the locations that are nearest you, you can find those on our website, iowacci.org, on our calendar section there.
All right, folks. And again, how that works is even though you're not at the actual site where the meeting is occurring, you can participate fully. You can hear everything. You can get up and speak. It's completely interactive and a good way to run a meeting when you want to include areas that that might not otherwise be able to participate without a long drive.
Exactly, and that's one of the things that we see as a step the regents are already taking, having these hearings, using the ICN to do that, because so often they have their regents meetings in state university towns here in Des Moines, in Ames, in Iowa City, or in Cedar Falls. But the regents also govern the community colleges.
Yeah,
and so there's
true.
a lot of folks across the state that aren't having a chance to weigh in with the Board of Regents on the education needs in their community.
Right. Well, Adam, thanks to you and to Iowa CCI for doing your part to help Governor Branstad maintain a commitment to one of his campaign promises. More open government.
That's right. Thank you, Ed.
I'm sure he has thanked you as well.
It must be in the mail.
Okay, well, I want to see that letter when you get it. I'm going to post it on my website.
I'll make sure you get a copy.
All right,
of it.
Adam, thanks so much, folks. Adam Mason. Hey, there is more to talk about today on the Fallon Forum here. We've got a lot of issues to go through in a little time, so hang on to your chairs and stick with me. Senator Harkin is blocking the nomination of Marilyn Tavenner. She would oversee the Medicaid and Medicare program, and we are blessed to have audio of an interview that Harkin did just last week on this question.
Well, her status is that she's pending to go to the Senate floor right now. I have asked that be held up for some time, and that hold is being honored. I don't believe in secret holds. I'm very out front on this one. I'm holding her up until we get some assurances from the Obama administration in carrying out agreements and in carrying out the Affordable Care Act like they're supposed to.
Well, and again, I commend Senator Harkin and his staff. I wrote to someone with his office yesterday, got an immediate response, was sent to the press secretary who contacted me immediately, called me back and sent me that audio. And I like it when politicians are responsive because unfortunately it doesn't happen that often. So again, thank you, Senator Harkin, to you and your staff for first of all being open and responsive. And personally, I think this I like it when a partisan politician, and if you are a Democrat or Republican, you are by nature partisan. That doesn't mean you're bad. It just means you've got a party affiliation by your name, and historically, you tend to work with others in your party. So it is unusual that a sitting U.S. senator will block the nomination of somebody from the president of his own party. And so to me, it says that this is very, very important to Senator Harkin, and I think we ought to pay attention. Again, Harkin wants to protect a $15 billion trust fund that was created back when the Affordable Care Act was established. And that fund is supposed to pay for wellness and disease prevention programs. And gosh, if there's an element of health care that is more important than wellness and disease prevention, I don't know what it is. And again, he says in a recent article about this, quote, "I'm holding her up until we get some assurances from the Obama administration." Okay? He says they should not be taking money out of the prevention fund for setting up the exchanges. And what he's referring to there is the health care insurance exchanges. And, those are important, but, they involve a lot of administration, a lot of bureaucracy. And it's, to me, I think in terms of priorities, let's make sure we're doing everything for wellness and prevention. Yeah, the exchanges are important, but gosh, do not rob Peter to pay Paul. All right. I normally don't find a lot to talk about on the sports page, but I did today. But I want to preface that with a reference to David Koechl's editorial in last week's Des Moines Register. He was Mitt Romney's senior Iowa advisor, and I doubt we find a lot of issues we agree on. But gosh, more and more folks in the Republican Party are coming on board the marriage equality bandwagon. And this is, and David is an example. He says, 4 years after Iowa's marriage equality ruling, nothing has changed. Except that now, you may remember that there were folks saying, well, if you enact this marriage equality ruling, marriage as we know it will fall apart. Iowa will fall apart. He points out that nothing has changed except that now more kids are living in stable two-parent homes than before, and more families enjoy the freedoms and protections of the rest of us. Marriage equality is pro-family. I like that. Marriage equality is pro-family. Of course, you've got the Iowa Family Leader that position themselves as the pro-family organization that are trying to stop attacks on marriage, on traditional marriage, by, for example, allowing gays and lesbians to marry. And again, it does not appear to have been a problem in Iowa. It's great to see David Koechel coming out. I would add that Massachusetts was, of course, the first state to allow marriage equality back in 2004. And it is interesting that when that happened, what did we see? Well, The Boston Red Sox went on to win the World Series for the first time in 86 years. That was the year the Patriots did good, did very well. I think the Bruins and Celtics both had great years as well. So what that says to me is, yes, marriage equality does have an effect, but it's not negative. It makes your sports teams that much better. Okay, that's my theory. I'm sticking with it. But speaking of sports, seeing two U.S. senators come out in support of marriage equality, seeing the former advisor to Mitt Romney, other key Republican leaders like former Iowa State Senator Jeff Angelo, more and more people are getting on board saying, hey, this is not a bad thing. In fact, this is a good thing. More and more people are being comfortable to say, hey, I'm gay or I'm lesbian. Here we have the first member of a major league team, Jason Collins, NBA center, who in a gripping essay, and an essay described as gripping in Sports Illustrated, came out. I mean, he said, yeah, I'm gay. And you know what? You'd expect that there'd be a lot of pushback, a lot of, and of course there was a little bit, but really the news is that was it. He came out and there was a little bit of, discussion about it on Twitter, of course, on Facebook and whatnot, in the press, and then people kind of moved on. It's not that big a deal anymore. Even the first gay person on a sports team, big sports team coming out, it's not that big a news anymore. So kind of cool. And you have interesting some of the quotes. Here's Doc Rivers, the head of the coach for the Boston Celtics. He says, quote, if you have learned anything from Jackie Robinson, it is that teammates are always the first to accept. It will be society who has to learn tolerance. And, in this case, it seems like society is being pretty accepting as well. Here's former President Bill Clinton, who of course, was originally no fan of marriage equality. You had the don't ask, don't tell policy, which at the time, I guess, seemed to be a small step forward. But, Clinton, of course, speaking out against that and saying, quote, it is also the straightforward statement, I love the pun there, the straightforward statement of a good man who wants no more than what so many of us seek, colon, to be able to be who we are, to do our work, to build families, and to contribute to our communities, said Clinton. And I'm not a Kobe Bryant fan, but I love what Bryant had to say. Quote, don't suffocate who you are because of the ignorance of others. That's a good one. Don't suffocate who you are because of the ignorance of others. I'm going to remember that one. Washington Wizards guard Garrett Temple wrote, I was surprised. I didn't know. And I was right next to him in the locker room. That's that's the bottom line, folks. There's no gay agenda. There's no gay lifestyle. I mean, gosh, you can stand or sit right next to a guy, occasionally naked, in the locker room. You can be straight, you can be gay. It doesn't affect you or him either way. Okay. I'm still waiting. I've been an advocate for gay lesbian equality since the late 80s. When I first started understanding what was going on with this issue, that's when I, quote, came out as an advocate for GLBT equality. And you know what? I'm still as heterosexual as the day I was born. All right. There's also a statement from the Boston Red Sox, Boston Strong. They write, quote, we salute you for your courage and leadership. Anytime you want to throw out a first pitch at Fenway Park, let us know. I love that. I would love to get to throw out a first pitch at Fenway Park. I don't know how to get there from here, though. But anyway, maybe Jason Collins will do that. That would be cool. We'll see if he can sink that as a strike. Okay, and then, of course, there's always some dissenting voices out there, including ESPN reporter Chris Broussard, who may as well be on Fox News. Maybe he'll get a gig there after this quote. He says, personally, I don't believe you can live an openly homosexual lifestyle, again, whatever that is, or an openly premarital sex between heterosexuals. That's not even a great sentence. If you're openly living that type of lifestyle, the Bible says you know them by their fruits. It says that's a sin. Who the heck are you to tell me what the Bible says? Gosh, I mean, I get really sick of these folks who think they know God's word. I don't need, Frank, if you're listening, here's your chance. But I really don't understand how folks can get away with saying that sort of thing. All right, so speaking of getting away with stuff, Kent Sorensen, state senator from Warren County, apparently he may not be getting away with stuff. This is almost old news now, but emails released recently appear to confirm that campaign aides for Michelle Bachmann discussed paying Iowa State Senator Kent Sorensen monthly wages for his role in the Congresswoman's 2012 presidential campaign. Of course, Kent Sorensen ended up dumping Bachmann for Ron Paul. Sorensen has long contended he wasn't paid, but has also said that receiving payments from a fundraising firm would not violate Senate rules. And he may be in trouble here, but here's my point. Who cares? Again, if you're a state, I don't know why there's a conflict of interest. I mean, you helping a presidential campaign is not going to affect how you vote on legislation in the Iowa Senate. I don't see that as a conflict of interest, and I'm meticulous about this. I don't get that. I don't care if he was paid by Michelle Bachmann. I don't care if he jumped ship and went to Ron Paul because Ron Paul paid him more. I don't think it's not commendable. It's not admirable. I don't think it actually creates a conflict of interest because, again, you're dealing with a campaign for the U.S. presidency in this case. And over here, you're doing your job as the U.S. or as an Iowa senator. I don't get it. Again, maybe that's the libertarian in me speaking, but if he wants to go work for whoever he wants to work for and get paid whatever exorbitant amount of money he wants, so be it. Ouch. I just offended Kent Sorensen. Maddie, you should cut my mic off immediately or hit me in the back of the head. No, I was kidding. But maybe you can hit me in the back of the head with a 2x4. I can't believe I just said something nice about Kent Sorensen. All right, I'll get over it. And maybe he will too. Okay, so what else in politics? Well, okay, here comes Maddie with a it's just a Post-it note. Well, I thought it was going to be the old 2x4. Okay, so Steve King continues to toy with us and to keep us in suspense. I can't imagine. Steve King he's got to have figured out by now whether he wants to run for Congress or not. I hope he does, but I think he's smart enough, and he won't. I mean, I don't think he will. I know he's got an ego, but he's also, for all of his horrible statements and ridiculous positions and regular embarrassments to Iowa, he's not a dumb guy, and I don't think he's going to do it. Again, I think those candidates who are thinking about it on the Republican side should make a decision to jump in if you really want to. Here's my prediction. My prediction is that Bill Northey will do it. I think Bill Northey is going to be the opponent that Bruce Braley will see. Again, Bruce Braley is, even though I love spirited primaries, I don't see one happening on the Democratic side. And personally, I do like Bruce Braley. I think he'll make a good candidate, and I think he's done a good job as a congressman. On the Republican side, we might see a primary, especially if Bill Northey does get the nod from Republican Central. You will probably see folks on the political right try to run somebody, say maybe like a Ken Sorensen, against him. And again, that's healthy. I like seeing that kind of debate in a primary. But I think Bill Northey will be a more formidable opponent for Braley. Again, I think there will be all sorts of distinctions, and people will have no trouble deciding which one will represent them best. We'll see what happens. Okay, I was pleased to note in the paper today the section about schools focusing on the environment. Okay, that's good stuff. When schools use the Earth Day week, as it is now, to talk about what kids can do to make our planet a better place. I looked at some of the details, and I'm thinking, okay, we have students raking up leaves and sticks. We have students loading wheelbarrows. That almost sounds like a violation of child labor laws to me. Oh, then we have a student painting a rain barrel. That's good, I guess. We have students making tie-dye T-shirts. Okay, that could be child labor as well, I suppose. We have one making a bird feeder. Anyway, that's all good. It's all good that kids are celebrating Earth Day. And then I get this email about the flip side of that. Again, I think most of that that sort of activity focuses on sustainability. And in my point of view, GMOs, when it comes to agriculture, GMOs are the exact opposite of sustainability. You talk organic agriculture on one hand, and we see a growing conflict between the organics movement and the movement toward more and more GMO crops. I think GMOs, I mean, it's this Earth Day stuff is not even controversial anymore. Painting a birdhouse, making a T-shirt, painting a rain barrel, that stuff's not even controversial anymore. Even growing food organically is not controversial. No one's being heard. But there's a huge dissension among the dining public over the safety and wisdom of GMOs. One of my contacts writes that her daughter completed a homework assignment for her honors science course. The homework packet that came home was from a genetics unit, and the topic was GMOs. The mother that sent me this was shocked. And she summed it up for me. The packet positioned GMOs as an amazing scientific breakthrough, helping to keep plants and food safe and nutritious. The kids involved conducted an experiment. And this is interesting. This is fascinating. The steps of the experiment were part of the homework packet. The kids were given GMBT corn plants. And these were genetically modified to resist the European corn borer. They were also given non-GMO corn plants, and they were provided with eggs. Okay? So they were tasked with observing how these plants grew. And the end result was that the GM corn thrived and the non-GM corn was ravaged by pests. Okay? These weren't chicken eggs, by the way. These were insect eggs. This experiment dovetailed into a lesson about the benefits of GMOs. The virtues of GMOs were laid out in full glory. Mom looked at her daughter's packet, and there was one page about GMOs in general. Most of the information was about how great they are. Okay, so there was a little bit of science and a lot of fluff, and the fluff was all, hey, look at this stuff. So I'm wondering if Monsanto helped finance this science project. There were apparently a few paragraphs about, quote, concerns that some people have about GMOs. However, those paragraphs were not very specific, and they did not provide the other side to the GMO story. There's a lot more to this, folks, and maybe we will get a chance to talk about it later. I'm always concerned when a corporate agenda just finds its way into the classroom. I mean, we talked with Adam Mason earlier about how corporate ag has found its way into the Iowa State University curriculum. And I don't, I've got my biases, obviously, and everybody's got their bias. And I think that the challenge is to provide a fair perspective without, basically lopsiding something in the direction of an interest or an industry that has something to gain from a particular academic perspective. And this to me is very disturbing and is clearly a problem. I'd like to learn more about this. All right, so one last thing. It is absolutely tragic, in my opinion, that we allow the garment industry in Bangladesh to continue as it has. I mean, over and over again, fires destroy buildings that kill people. I mean, thousands of people housed in these 8-story or more, these huge buildings, working, long days, ridiculous wages. These employees, $38 a month, working long days, $38 a month is what they make in horrible conditions. I mean, not just fires, but the most recent tragedy is a building that collapsed. This was one that they were being told this is going to happen. They ignored that. And so what happened when this 8-story structure crashed down during the peak of the working day? Well, so far the toll of dead is 348 people. That's up over 100 from a few days ago. I mean, it is unconscionable. And so they are looking at 5 people have been arrested. 5 people have been taken into custody in connection with the collapse of that building. And I want to ask this. Why are 5 people in Bangladesh who or somehow involved with inspections and construction being taken into custody, being arrested, potentially going to court. Why is not the head of Walmart being arrested? Why are not the heads of some of these other corporations that make these brands of clothing being arrested? They're the ones that are as culpable, and they're more culpable than anybody. And I want to say this, and this may be a little harsh, but it's really hard not to wear clothing that isn't made in a sweatshop. But we should be doing our part. Don't buy clothing that comes from one of these sweatshops, from Walmart. Don't get your clothes at Walmart. And again, it's almost impossible to find locally made stuff anymore. We've got some great businesses in Des Moines that try to do that. We need more, and we need more efforts to produce this stuff locally, without sweatshop labor, without ridiculous wages like $38 a month. And again, I know. So what I'm saying, I guess, is as consumers, we are all culpable in this tragedy, and we should be willing to pay more to save lives, to prevent this from happening. Again, we're a long ways. We're getting a great local foods industry going here in Iowa and across the country. I'm still waiting for the local clothing industry to get anywhere near to where we've been able to accomplish on local foods. Anyway, that's the Fallon Forum today, folks. Again, if you're listening live, thank you for tuning in. The show is available every Monday through Friday live from noon to 1. If you're listening on KHOI or on KPVL, you can tune in live any day of the week, Monday through Friday, on www.fallonforum.com. And you can also contact me at fallonforum@gmail.com if you have questions, comments, or you want to tell me how wonderful the set looks behind me. All right, folks, thanks so much. I do want to thank all of our sponsors as well. We've got a great selection of business sponsors for this program, local businesses that believe in an alternative to what you can find on commercial radio. I want to thank Community CPA and Associates for sponsoring this segment of our show. They're at 288-3188, folks. I also want to thank the $1 Million Marathon for organizing a heck of an event. You should check this out. This is 160 people running a relay race, marathon, from one coast to the other, starting in June. I think they start on June 21st, from the Pacific Coast to the Atlantic Coast. Check it out, folks. If you're in the Des Moines Metro, check out RTI. That's Repertory Theater of Iowa's production, that championship season. Again, it's not so much about sports as it is about human nature and corruption, political corruption, but other corruption as well. It's a great production. There should be a full house every night. They're playing through May 5th at the Des Moines Social Club. That's Repertory Theater of Iowa. So, folks, again, thanks for sticking around. Thanks to my producer, Maddie Arrington. Thanks to Webcast One Live for providing the studio. We'll be back tomorrow.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershot.
I'm administrative manager.
I'm the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
If we seem like, okay, that's just